Today we're going to talk about wood. We're going to head off and see if we can cut down our own tree. I'm going to replenish the wood pile, and I'm going to give you a lesson on how to measure the height of a tree using only a stick. But first, let's just talk about why we want to leave Canada in the first place. This is Murph, or as we like to call her, Murphy Moo, or Moo, or Mookins, or Moo though. We call her Mini Moo, Fat Moo, Mooby Dooby, Okie Dokie, Mookie Dookie. Like you do. She was a puppy once. She's 4 years old now. She's a cross between a Wheaten Terrier and a Golden Retriever. And when she was a puppy, she was a piss machine. So we kind of called her all sorts of different names, which thankfully she grew out of. Anyway, Moo wants to go to France. So I guess we're just going to have to go with her. I mean, wouldn't it be wonderful if it was really that simple? The dog wants to move to France, and so we have to go too. Wouldn't it be wonderful? No, it's not. It isn't that simple. I mean, there is a serious question, and people have asked this question more than once. Why would we move? Why do we want to? Why are we moving from Canada? I mean, don't get me wrong. Canada is wonderful. It is wonderful. It is an amazing country. When we came to Canada about 10 years ago, and let me tell you, within the first week, we'd sorted bank accounts. We'd organised our healthcare provider, and don't let anybody tell you that the Canadian healthcare system is broken. It's not. It works, and it works perfectly well. It certainly worked well for us, and we've used it. We've had to use it, and everything has been absolutely fine. It's great. But the bureaucracy works in Canada, which rather amazed me. It took us no time at all to get driver's licenses, to get everything that we needed to when we rented our first house. We got our electrical supplier straight away. All the TV is kind of crap, but the providers, all the internet, everything is great. We've got fiber optic here, and we live in the middle of nowhere. So everything about Canada works. It's big. Canada is huge. It's vast. There's a lot of it at the moment, which people don't go to. Some figures for you, which it is a vast, huge country. It's the second largest country behind Russia, at 3.8 million square miles, or 9.9 million kilometers squared. So it's huge. It has a population of 41 million compared to the USA with 345 million. France has 66 million. So there are more people in France than there are in Canada. And the size of France, get this, is 500,000 square kilometers. So you'd think, based on that France would be crammed with people. That everywhere you go, I think they're all living in Paris, because I don't know. One of the things that we came as a surprise to us when we drove around France was that I think they. Do you think they left? Do you think they got prior warning that we were there? and just, I mean, we know about the lunchtime breaks. We know that Canada shuts down at lunchtime, and that's great. That's great. But we Paris took some negotiating, some navigating. Paris took some navigating, but the rest of France was it was beautiful. It was wonderful. There was nobody in it. It was wonderful, and that's hard to believe considering, the population and the size of the country compared to other. I mean, if you look at, could you imagine India and China? I mean, Mrs. M has lived in India. 412 people for every square kilometre. 412. You look at Canada, 4. There are 4 people per every kilometre squared. So Canada is vast, but it's nice. It's certain freedom. You don't, you're not constantly falling over people. Canada is a very tolerant country as well. I don't use the term liberal or conservative. I think all that's rubbish. I think those terms have been abused. But the people, in general, all right, there's always a village idiot, but in the main, Canadian people are very tolerant. Don't be swayed by the idea that Canadian people are ultra nice. That's a misnomer. They're not really. You cut up a Canadian truck driver, and you're in big trouble. But in the main, Canadians are tolerant. They're nice people. So why do we want to move? Why we want to leave all this? Why, having spent all this time on our house, and we have spent a lot of time on this house. I have practically rebuilt this house. It would have been easier to knock it down and start all over again, but we are so close to a creek at the back. We have this wonderful elevated position, and the creek is down in the bottom. The SCRD, which is the building department in this neck, they wouldn't allow us to build it here again. But it seriously would have been far easier and far cheaper just to knock it down and start again, which is part of the problem really, because our house was built in 1975, and I guess it's probably one of the oldest properties in the area. It's 50 years old, and it's one of the oldest properties in the area. Can you believe that? That right there is the nub of why we want to leave, why we want to go and live in France. We love architecture, we love history, we love woodwork, we love original features. I'm a cabinet maker, so I make wood things, or I'm kind of semi-retired now, but we want to buy a property, an old property, a big property, with lots of original features. We want huge, great sweeping staircases. We want wood paneling. We want just presence. We want height. We want to get lost. I mean, there's kind of only 2 of us and 3 dogs. We've got friends. Excuse me. We've got friends. We've got people who will come and visit and fill the place up, I am sure. But that's kind of it. I have a desire to do one more project. I'm kind of I'm 63, and we have one more project left. I want to make it a big one. So we're gonna bring back a property. We want something which has kind of been let slip a little bit, and there are lots. We've seen lots of chateaux in France that are just, they're falling down. They're falling apart. What a crime. So we want to take something and give it another lease of life. We want something which we can, that would be our legacy, I guess. We'll take something which is on the verge of whatever, bring it back to life, give it another, and hand it over to another generation. And that is really it. It's nothing more complicated than that. We're not being forced out of Canada. We want another project. We want a chateau, and we want it now. So that's it. It's nothing more complicated than that. I hope that explains. And so, with that in mind, let's do the next thing. Apparently in Canada, if you grab a permit, you can cut your own tree. Okay, got that. You just take control of that.
Change your plan, we're driving up.
So we can't drive any further. So now we walk. Hopefully we find somewhere to cut a tree down. Yeah, it's not. I might have expected something a little bigger than that. I'm going to be very disappointed now. I've gone through all this trouble. Can't find a tree to chop down. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of primordial, and I don't think there'd be any trees our size down there. Okay, so looks like change of plan. We ventured out into the forest to try and commute with nature and cut down our own tree, because that's what we do here in Canada. Apparently they do in Canada, but no trees to be had. Well, when I say no trees, that's probably not big enough. Okay. Let's cut some wood. Just when you thought I'd forgotten that I had to show you how to measure the height of a tree with a stick, you need two things. You need a stick, and you need a tree. Okay, so this is actually a yardstick. It was 3 foot long where I chopped the end of it, but it'll do. You could do this with a stick. You could do it with a stick, branch, or anything. Relatively straight. Now the idea, you need the stick to be as long as the point at which it joins your hand to your shoulder. And in this instance, I'm guessing it's probably just to be about there. All right. So that's where the length of your stick needs to be, so that when you do that with it, you need this distance to be the same as that distance. Okay. And what you're doing, you're creating, can you see that? You're creating a 90 degree, you're creating a triangle. All right. So what you need to be doing, you're creating that triangle, and what you need to be doing, you need to be looking up at the top of that stick, and that, oh my God, this is a big tree. And so the top of that stick needs to coincide with the top of the tree. And I'm about halfway at the moment. I'm looking at that, I'm about halfway at the tree. So what you want to do, you want to walk backwards. You want to keep walking backwards until the top of the stick coincides with the top of the tree. I might have picked a long tree. I could have picked a shorter one because I'm not going to run out of field. Are we running out of field yet?
Not yet. We've got a bit to go.
Right. We're nearly there. We're nearly there now. So that, for the purposes of this experiment, is about where it needs to be. So that, I've created now the triangle between blah de blah de blah. The top of that reaches the top of the tree. That, where my legs are now, there is about where, if that tree came down, would be the top, where the top of the tree would land. Okay, so how do you measure it now? Well, it's easy, you just measure it. If you know what the width of your stride is, the length of your stride, and my stride is about 3 foot long. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 35. So 35. So what's 3 35s? 2 35s is 70. So that's 105. So this tree is 105 feet high. For those working in meters, that's something else. And you find a calculator, but for us here in Canada operating feet, that tree is 105 feet tall.